What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Good morning and welcome to the Shred Show Live. It's Friday. Can you believe it? We're at the end of the week already. Time flies when you're having fun, ladies and gentlemen, and I cannot tell you how excited I am to be chopping it up with my good friend, Justin Stoddart, this morning. Longtime friend, longtime mentor, and I'm excited to have him on the show because right now, more than ever, you need to start thinking bigger. You need to get out of your own way. And we're going to be having discussions to help you in this new year to really start breaking through, to differentiate yourself, and to start thinking bigger. I'm really excited for it, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready? Are you ready? It is time to shred. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and happy Friday. Very excited. I can't believe the end of the week is here, and I'm excited. What better way to end the week than having Justin Stoddart join me from Think Bigger? And Justin, I'm excited to get into our conversation today because honestly, before we get into it, you have had such an incredible entrepreneurial journey yourself. You've recently broke out and started doing your own thing. You come from a title background recently. You come from a space where, again, our industry, mortgage, title, insurance, real estate, all those things, they kind of all come together. And you've been in title for the last little while, but you've recently kind of broke out on your own and do your own thing, which I'm excited for you. But at the same time, it's a journey, man. I'm excited to have you here this morning.
Thanks, brother. Super excited to be here. You know, you might recall even previous to that, I was a land developer and home builder. So yeah. I don't know if I call it upgrade. I call it an upgrade. I don't know if everybody would, but I've upgraded to, instead of developing land, I now develop people. Instead of building homes, I now build businesses. So it's really my life's work. I'm absolutely passionate about what I'm doing. And the title industry really was a great place for me to really get knee to knee with real estate agents all day, every day, and realize what are the big challenges that they're facing, and then develop offers to really help them in a big way. So now I get to take that across the country, which is super fun.
It's kind of come all like full circle for you. You kind of started in development, like you said, developing land and all that. Now you get to help develop people, which is mine and your favorite thing in the world. I love people. I love helping them build relationships. I love helping them create opportunity in their lives, which that's what we're going to be talking a lot about today. As I mentioned, you know, you are the founder of Think Bigger, which we actually, let's just start there. What is Think Bigger? This kind of bases and kind of starts creating the foundation for our conversation today. What is Think Bigger? Why did you create Think Bigger as an organization?
I love it. Yeah. Think Bigger at its core is a coaching and training platform. However, I believe that a lot of people opt out of coaching or never get into it because it's a transfer of ideas. And I believe that ideas don't make money. Implementing ideas make money. And so specifically what we offer is Coaching Plus, which is the idea coupled with the leverage, meaning the trained people, systems, and tools to help you implement those ideas. So it's kind of coaching 2.0 is what we believe. But it was really, even prior to it really developing into that, and it was a podcast, right? Think Bigger Real Estate was really a way for us to really reach out into the real estate community and find the best ideas, the brightest minds, the most giving hearts, and curate from them what are the biggest solutions to helping our industry as a whole rise above and really succeed in, you know, this market and the market to come.
Dude, so this, I almost want to start our conversation here. This literally does set precedence because you and I both, you know, I started the Shred Show, I started my podcast, and it kind of developed into my business and that's exactly what the Think Bigger podcast did for you. You started interviewing, you started having some incredible guests. And this, I always tell people this, you have to get outside of your own knowledge. There's so many other people surrounding you in your own industry that alone, that can be the content for your show. That can be, and again, this branched out into you starting your own business. I never, like when I first started like interviewing people a couple of years ago, I didn't think it was going to turn into Shred Media, and it did. It evolved itself. So I always tell people, you never know what you're going to learn about yourself and what you're going to learn from others. The best way to become better at something is to learn from others' incredible knowledge. And that's exactly what the Think Bigger podcast did for you.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. It was really, initially it was a strategy to get me in front of my ideal clients, right, in the title world. And then I realized like this is much bigger than this. So I started to reach up and have conversations with people like Grant Cardone and others. And all of a sudden I was like, dang, I get 30 minutes with some of the brightest minds in the world, them just pouring into me. So even if nobody watched the show, I walk away from that 30 minutes a much better Justin than prior to the show. Ooh. So like I win no matter what, and my clients win no matter what. Then all of a sudden I realized people actually enjoy being a part of these conversations. So then you can start to scale it out and actually reach more people while I'm growing and becoming better for my clients. I'm also allowing them to be in on the conversation via the podcast.
Dude, this right here is like literally the mindset. If everybody goes back and listens to that last minute, like I always tell people, create content, not so much for your audience, but it's for you, what you learn about yourself, what you learn from others. Like it is almost like, and I hate saying this, but it almost is a selfish aspect of it, because I'm with you. I have learned way more in the last couple of years of podcasting my show from the incredible guests that I've had on than anything else. Like it truly is mind, but like it's humbling, to be honest, when you have like guys like Grant Cardone, or you have incredible people that you've been able to interview. It's so much fun. So let's continue to evolve the conversation, because you have an incredible book out. You and I were kind of talking about this, because sometimes in the way of sales, when we think about the typical sales model or the typical sales process, whether you're in mortgage, real estate, insurance, whatever you could be in car sales, whatever it is, sometimes we start thinking about referrals and referral partners. And we get this idea that the best referral source out there is maybe friends, family, which it can be, but that's also kind of a limited model. We need to start thinking bigger and outside of that.
Yeah, 100%. And this is really when I authored the book, The Upstream Model, I was really uncovering the fact of what happens when you're a relationship kind of person and you want to work by referral, but frankly, you're limited by the number of personal relationships you can maintain. Because let's be honest, when you look at the average database, I'm talking Sphere clients, that converts at 10% per year. In other words, you need 100 people in a database to close 10 deals. So if you want to add another 10 deals, according to that ratio, you need another 100 people. And all the while, you got to be asking yourself, I'm pouring value into 90 people that are not going to convert into a referral or a closed piece of business this year. Now, from a humanity standpoint, of course, we want to take care of people. From a business standpoint, it'd be like 90 conversations that are going to like avail to nothing. Like there's got to be a better use of that time. We have to take a look at the opportunity cost of having a 10% conversion rate. What if we were to go, instead of going to get 100 more relationships to get 10 deals, what if we went and found one relationship to get 10 deals?
Ooh, I like that. See, that's a different style of thinking. Sometimes we're all about, we want to work smarter, but we're just working harder. This is this is working smarter. So how do you start to do that? Let's break it down. What I love about you, Justin, is you really are practical. It's like, okay, let's really start implementing this. How do we actually put this strategy, and how do we start executing on this? So when somebody hears this, where do they start? You talk about finding a good referral source. Let's break that down. What is a good referral source?
Perfect. So I call them upstream partners, and here's why. This will actually go back to my building days. I was a high-end home builder, had just bought a book of business from my previous employer, and I just assumed that it was going to be as easy for me to go get new business as he had made it appear. And I hung out my shingle, so to speak, and I was like, okay, it's not quite as busy as I hoped it would be, right? So what everyone was telling me is like, build a big database, put all your friends and clients in there, do notes, calls, pop-bys, all the stuff that we're taught to cultivate relationships. I was getting some referrals from that, but not enough to keep up with my goals. So there was this gap. Here's my goals, and here's where my referrals were turning off. And it's like, now what? Do I lower my goals? Nope, that's not for me. So how do I fill that gap? Well, what a lot of us think is, well, I guess I got to go cold market, right? I guess I got to go prospect people that don't know me. And there's nothing wrong with that. That model works. But what if instead you were able to close that gap with warm referrals? And the only way to do that is to have conversations with people that can be more helpful. Well, how do you find those people? Back to your question. I believe that there's 5 steps to implementing what I call the upstream model. The first step is to identify an upstream partner. What I mean by upstream partner, I came up with this term as I figured out how to do this in the building industry. I realized that, yes, I can talk to my friends and clients, but most of them aren't going to be able to refer a high-end luxury client to me on a regular basis. However, I identified that an architect could absolutely refer me a high-end client. Now, the typical thought process is, well, I'll go solicit that architect and I'll ask him to give me opportunities to bid on homes. And because I show up as a solicitor, I get treated as a solicitor. And so it doesn't work very well. So what I did instead of that is to really approach him very differently. As opposed to as somebody there to get something from him, I approached him as somebody there to whom I could give value, right? So step 1 is to identify somebody who's upstream from your transaction. Obviously, we're not talking to an audience of builders, right? We're talking to an audience of real estate agents, lenders, etc. You have to ask yourself, who knows that a client is going to be needing a real estate agent, let's say, before they go talk to real estate agents. Because there's some professional in the marketplace right now that's having a conversation with their clients, and they're uncovering the fact that their clients are going to need an agent next. Now,
That's true.
In most cases, when we're thinking about our friends and our clients, they're just not in real estate related conversations day in and day out, right? And if they are, you're reliant upon them remembering and then liking you enough to deliver that referral to you, right? Which is kind of out of the norm for them. Like they've got to be a pretty good friend, pretty good client, pretty outspoken person, right? So that's why that number shrinks down to 10%. Well, if you can find somebody who in the course of their work, right? This is what they do all day, every day, is talk to their clients, looking to add value to their clients. And in the course of the conversation, they find this. Now, all of a sudden, you can position yourself to where you add value to them by being in that conversation. So these people can be a lot more helpful. So step one, identify an upstream partner. Identify somebody who is in those consultative conversations with their clients, where real estate would be a value add to discuss. Okay.
Oof, that's big.
Some examples: estate attorneys, family law attorneys, CPAs, financial advisors, right? Insurance agents, lenders, right? I mean, think about the people that are like one conversation away from talking about real estate. Those are your people. Okay? That's your category. Okay. Now, step two is to, again, not just identify a category, but identify a person, right? Somebody, and to seek a warm introduction to that person. Again, if you show up as a solicitor, you'll be treated as a solicitor. You'll get the stiff arm. So find somebody who already knows you, loves you. This is what your clients and your friends are really good for, right? Is to go to them, add value, and say, hey, I found that a CPA would be very valuable for me to have in my professional network to be able to refer to my clients when they have tax questions. Do you have a great CPA that you absolutely love that's like a 10? And if the question is no, great, no problem. If you ever come up with it, let me know. By the way, when I find a 10, I'm going to refer you. Is that okay? Right? So it's a win-win, the whole conversation. Okay. Then following up to that, if they say, oh yeah, like John Smith, he's fantastic, right? Great. Would you mind making an introduction? He's somebody that, I want to bring into my network and be able to add value to him. And if you're willing to do that, I'll even craft what the email should look like, just so it's super easy for you, just right. So now you've made it really easy for your friend or client to be able to make that introduction. And in the process of making that introduction, you're now telling this John Smith all about you, so that when you, right, step three, okay, step one was identify an upstream client. Number two is get a warm introduction. Step three is to meet with them. Because the way the introduction was done, you don't have to pitch yourself. Right. You don't have to say, I'm XYZ agent. Here's all my accolades. Here's all the initials after my name. I'm in the Super Diamond Platinum Club, and here's how I take care of my clients. As soon as you do that, again, the wall goes up. That's why these professionals are not referring you, is because you're coming at them as if you want to get something from them. So if step two is done right, step three becomes a consultative conversation. You step in as a business consultant to that particular professional, looking for ways that you can add value.
So hold on, as we go into step three here, I want to expand on this. What is your preferred method of meeting with these people? We live in a Zoom world. Yep. Like, are you an in-person guy? Is that the best way? I mean, humans, we like to do that. Do you do Zoom? Like, what is your preferred method when you get that opportunity? Now you have that warm introduction. What is your preferred method of meeting with these people?
I think there's two things to consider. Number one is, what is the highest way that they can feel the genuine nature of your approach, right? If it's an email, right, they just don't get a feel for you. There isn't that connection. Okay. So best case is face-to-face. Okay. However, we have to consider what's the impact upon them right away, right? You might not be able to get them face-to-face right away if they don't know you. There's a better chance because their client has recommended you. So face-to-face is best. Zoom is next. Beyond that, like it would be one step of a multiple phase approach, right? Because ultimately you need to get some sort of face-to-face contact with them, so they get a feel for you, they're comfortable with you, they feel that you're genuinely there to add value to them. So yeah, face-to-face and then Zoom. Beyond that, it better be a setup to get one of those two.
Nice. Okay. So now you've got that appointment. You've got that, like you said, it's almost more of a consultative or like consultation. You're trying to find how you can add value to them. Let's keep going on that.
Yeah. So what I teach in my coaching circle on this very topic, I have actually a list of questions that you would ask if you were stepping in to be a business consultant, right? And those questions, we practice them, we role play them to where you feel very comfortable not talking about yourself. Because we have a tendency when we're in sales is that we're there to talk about ourselves, right? And great salespeople, as well as even better, next level up, are consultants. They're really there to uncover what's wrong, right? Where are you at? Where do you want to be at? What's your path? What's the potential breakdown that you are experiencing or could experience to get to that end result? So once we uncover that, now step 4 gets really fun, is we get to go and add value to their business, okay? Because now they know that you just weren't there and had a different conversation that they were impressed by, because guess what, it was about them, right? But now you get to like dip into your network and your knowledge bank to find some sort of solution to what they had discussed. Now, don't overthink this. It doesn't have to be huge. It could be like, I've been thinking about you and what you discussed. There's somebody in my network who I think might be valuable. Would this be an interesting introduction for you to solve this problem that we lightly discuss? So it's adding value to their business. Now, most people in professional circles get those 4, right? Super intuitive. The last one is where all the magic happens. The last one is you're going to add value to their clients.
Okay? Oh, I like it.
So step 4 is add value to their business. Now they know you're real, you're valuable, you're interested in helping them, and you can help them, right? So step 5 is now you're continuing to build that relationship and you're identifying some value that you bring to your clients that you could naturally give to them and their clients, right? Prime example, let's say an estate attorney. They need like broker price opinions, right? They need that to deliver to their clients, right? Because as they're dealing with estates, like this is something that's part of their process. So you having the ability to deliver that value to their clients, that's one simple example.
Yeah.
But what happens is that you've made that professional's life and job easier, and you've made their client experience even better, right? So now, naturally, you're going to be involved in their client conversations. That's where the referrals go from inconsistent when you're dealing with your friends and clients, because they're not in these conversations, to being very consistent, predictable, and frequent, because you have people that are wanting to bring you in. They're not doing it because they know you, like you, trust you, and want to help you grow your business, which is how most referral relationships work. They're doing this because they need you. They actually need you to help deliver more value to their clients.
Dude, this is such, and like this it's such an expansion of like how we think in sales. We're always talking about how do we add value? How do we create value? And sometimes it's perceived in like, oh, I have better rates. I have like lower fees. I have this. And like, that is the traditional way of like whether it's in lending, whether it's in real estate, like sometimes we think pricing is the best way to add value. And it's just like, this is what you're talking about here. And what I love so much about this too, Justin, especially steps 4 and 5, is you start to create value for the potential referral partner, but even more creating it for their client, like their customer. It doesn't have to be monumental. You mentioned this. It doesn't have to be this like groundbreaking shift of value that you're creating for them. I always talk about the 1% rule. Like even if you're making it 1% better or like just these little incremental improvements to whatever value you're adding to them, they're adding to their clients, they will perceive that as something fairly large. Most people now, if we're talking, I had a conversation recently with I was very fortunate to be sitting with a bunch of billionaires, and to them, like, it's just like, it takes a little bit more for them to be like, oh yeah, this is kind of groundbreaking. This is very, very cool. But for most of us, I don't want to call them middle class, but most of us entrepreneurs, most of us who think this way, it's the small shifts every single day. It's the little 1%ers, Justin, that truly add value. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, 100%. We overthink the fact that we think we have to know everything before we can teach somebody anything.
Ooh, that's
when
deep.
All we need to know is a little bit more than them, right? And I teach this in my book and in my coaching circles that there's 4 buckets from which we can pull value. Number 1 is what we know, right? Which we're probably underestimating what we know. If we went back and looked at everything that we've learned growing our business, again, it all comes down to, though, in that consultative conversation, once you start asking the right questions, then you start to like be able to match. Oh, wait a minute, I've solved that problem before, right? So it's first bucket is what you know. Second bucket is who you already know, right? The people in your network, which if you start to think differently about this, whether you're a lender, whether you're a real estate agent, you start to think of every client isn't just a commission or a great past client, they're part of your professional network that you can leverage to add value to other people. All of a sudden, your database becomes very valuable because the people who you just helped buy a beautiful home, he works at so-and-so, and matching that person up with this person's challenge would be great for both. All of a sudden, you're wildly valuable. So that's the second bucket, is who you already know. The third bucket is what you could know. By the way, this is endless, right? Mm-hmm. Insert ins, like, the search engines and everything else, all the people that we could ask and quiz, like what we could know is endless. The fourth bucket is who you could know, right? So in other words, you find the problem and then get a little resourceful based on what you do and who you do know, what you could know and who you could know. And you are the most valuable person that they've ever met, because of what you're willing to do to go add value to them. And don't overthink it. It could be, like I said, one simple introduction or one idea that you learned from a mentor of yours, right? And that's why I subscribe to coach. I've got multiple coaches, like 3 at a time at times, like teaching me very specific things. And I do that not just for myself, but so the value that I can add to my clients. And we start to think about who we're learning from. I mean, just watching this show with you on a consistent basis, the nuggets that you can pull from here to go add value to your upstream partners is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I see. And that's just it, all these things that you're talking about, Justin, they're not difficult to understand and they're not difficult to even implement. They start practicing. Yeah. Sometimes, again, we just get so set in our routines, our daily routines, that we just don't take a step back and say, okay, and break down these different buckets that you're talking about, break down these different practices. Because a lot of conversations that I've been having recently, everybody's like, well, I need to focus more here, with markets starting to compress and opportunities becoming, less and less frequent. I need to be all in on my business. And sometimes what we think is all in is not quite. These little things that you've spoken about today are so much more impactful, are so much more profound, because then it really does start. It's a different way of thinking. It's a different way of creating new opportunities, building relationships, creating value. We always talk about creating value. The most valuable thing you can ever do for a referral partner, for a relationship that you have, is introduce them to somebody else who's going to help them build their legacy, who's going to help them build their dreams and build their business. This is it's such a simple way of thinking, Justin, but at the same time, we just don't see people executing on it.
Well, and I think we mistake when we're thinking too small, right? Which you and I despise that term. Right?
Yeah.
When we're thinking too small, we end up filling up our day with what seems to be good activities. I mean, it's very similar to the example that I share with a database, right? Oh boy, I contacted my database. Yes, but 9 out of 10 of those people cannot help you this year. Like, what are you doing? If I was an investor in your company and I put $1 million in your company, P.S., by the way, you are an investor in your company and you are putting $1 million in your company. So you should be having the same conversation with yourself, right? That time that you're spending with people that won't serve you is not a good return on investment. Shark Tank would decline you right away, right? It would say, I'm not investing in that. But if you could say, okay, I'm going to invest time in these strategic relationships, adding big value to them. Okay, now we have a business, folks, right? Because now we're actually adding value. And I'm not saying you should be self-centered and only focus on what you can get, just the opposite. We have to be choosy on who we're adding value. But once we find those people, we're adding big value. But we have to be sure we're investing our time and our value into the right people. And sometimes it's just because we're thinking too small. We're doing what all the gurus have told us, which is to build this giant database and love on everybody. Like, I get it. We should do that in life. But in business, we need to be very prudent as to how we're spending our time, with whom we're having conversations with, and to whom we're adding value.
Dude, this idea of you being the investor in your own company, I don't know if I've ever heard anybody say it like you just said. Like, that is such I want everybody to go back and think about that. You're the investor. You're the one investing the $1 million in your company. You're putting the blood, sweat, and tears into it. Even if you work for a company, even if you're a realtor working for a brokerage, if you're a lender working for a brokerage, whatever it is, you're ultimately the one. Nobody else cares about your business as much as you do. You're the one who's putting in the sweat equity. You're the one who's putting in the time, the money, and the energy. Think about it in that way. And if you do, that will start to shift this thinking to what you're talking about, Justin, to really take a step back. Like, okay, like if I was investing in my own business, which you are, like, what is going to entice me to want to continue to invest? What is going to be like, wow, this company is going places. This company is doing things. Like, it's such a fun way to think about it. Plus, you're going to push yourself. I'm like you. I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, take a step back. What can I be doing in Shred? What can I be doing in my business to start making these little tiny shifts? Like, Justin, this is why, especially in a market, again, you and I are both glass half full. We see opportunity in all markets. A lot of people are talking about doom and gloom with interest rates on the rise, with the market, with not a lot of inventory out on the market. Now is the time to be investing in yourself more than ever, and to start putting these mental practices into place. Start actually executing on them. As we start to wrap things up here, as we start to come to the end of our time here, what would the next steps be for anybody for listening to this? If they want to, like, hey, how do they get involved with you? How do they follow you? What's the best way for them to really start, connecting with you?
I love it, man. Thank you for that opportunity. Let me just say this. We believe that the market, right, has been like wind at its sails, right? And we see some flattening, and there's potential that there's going to be a bit of a correction, right? And
sure.
You and I both believe that there is opportunity, sometimes more opportunity when that happens. Your business, if you keep doing the same thing in a flat or tightening market, you're not going to get the same thing in return. You're going to get less and less and less. So if you're okay with that, by all means, keep doing what you're doing. But if you actually believe that you can grow, and by the way, the wealthiest people in the world do, like they're licking their chops right now because everyone else is exiting the business. Now's the time for you to go grab market share. If you can focus on growth and surrounding yourself with people that help you grow, think differently, think bigger, and go execute on that, then you're going to be in a great spot. So you can, probably the best way to reach out, right, is just go to Instagram at Justin Stoddart, Stoddart. I think my name was on the bottom.
Yep.
And just DM me if you want to have a conversation about how I can help you implement this. I've got very specific, as I mentioned, coaching plus offerings that help people not just learn about the ideas, but my team steps in. You get to rent my team to help install these systems into your business. I have a different model around coaching. So we'd love to have a conversation with anybody. You can also follow my podcast, The Think Bigger Real Estate Show. So
I was going to say, if nothing else, guys, you got to go follow the podcast. I guarantee the knowledge. And this is something that you and I have a very similar belief. We give away a lot of value. And I don't mean that like egotistically. We really do. We give away a ton of free content, a ton, like today, just listening to this podcast, this 30-minute show, guys, you can go back and pull at least 3 or 4 nuggets out that are like, hey, they're going to help you start thinking differently. They're going to start helping you think bigger. And that's what you and I are all about, giving back to our communities, giving back to the industries that have helped us get to where we are. We want to give that value, but if you want to start stepping it up, like if you want to take it to the next level, sometimes you do need somebody to help implement some of these things. I like to say it all the time, like I'm only as good as I am. Having somebody have that push, that support sometimes is what really helps you get to the next step. So Justin, this has been absolutely brilliant. Trent Best says, thank you. Brian Olson, I saw your comment as well. A lot of people engaging and commenting on the show today. Appreciate everybody joining us. But Justin, this has been absolutely insightful. I am truly grateful to have you as a friend, as a mentor, and somebody who's willing to share all this today. You're the man. I appreciate it.
It's mutual, buddy. I am so impressed by what you've built here and just the value that you add. Thank you for the honor of coming on the show. Such a fan. Keep up the good work.
Dude, thank you so much. Everybody, again, if you want to go check out Justin, the link is below. Our team posted the link in the comments. Go check out his book. Go check out his website. Follow him on Instagram. Go listen to his podcast. I promise you will not miss out. Guys, with that, as always, we hope you have an incredible weekend. We appreciate you. We love you. Now it's time for all of you guys to go shred, go show up, hustle, repeat every day. See ya.